Well, greetings, travelers of the 21st century. Come on in. I'm Leofric, and I'm a scop. Basically, that means I'm a storyteller, a poet, and the official keeper of memories for the Anglo-Saxon people. For today's explainer, I'm going to be your personal historical guide, bridging the massive gap between my world of the 8th century and yours today. We're going to explore exactly how my people, the early speakers of Old English, expressed our absolute deepest emotions, our unbreakable social bonds, and, just our vibrant daily lives. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Step out of the cold, traveler, and into the firelight. Let me tell you the heart of my people. I want you to literally picture this. Imagine stepping out of a freezing, unforgiving English winter night and pushing open the heavy, creaky wooden doors of our hall. Instantly, you are hit by the crackling warmth of a massive hearth, the rich smell of roasting meat, and just this booming, echoing sound of laughter and song. To truly understand the Anglo-Saxon soul, you really have to understand that sharp contrast between the dark, terrifying world outside and the vibrant, glowing warmth inside.
Take a look at these lands. These are the ancient homes of my ancestors. From the 5th all the way to the 11th centuries, Germanic tribes, specifically the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, sailed across some incredibly brutal seas to settle these very shores. Now, I know your modern history books often paint us as just these ruthless warlords and raiders, entirely defined by conquest and battles, but beneath that gritty history of warfare lies a deeply, deeply emotional people. We felt joy, sorrow, love, and loyalty every bit as fiercely as we fought.
Section 1. Welcome to the Mead Hall, Joy and Duty.
So, our entire society was anchored by this central, beating heart, a place where pure joy and heavy duty were basically woven together. The Mead Hall wasn't just a building, it was the absolute core of our culture. Picture a towering, majestic wooden structure. This is where the king lived, where he held his court, and where he threw some truly magnificent feasts. It was our ultimate sanctuary. Inside these timber walls, we shared out mead, we gifted treasures, and scops, like me, recited epic poetry to the strum of a harp. It was our one beacon of light and safety against whatever harsh, unknown dangers were lurking just outside in the dark.
Now, if you look around this hall, you'll notice how carefully everything is structured. We were a highly hierarchical people. Right at the top, of course, was the king, our great benefactor and ultimate protector. Just below him sat the earls and thanes. These are the fierce warriors who owned land and fought directly for the king. Then you've got the freemen, handling commerce, the churls who worked the land in exchange for protection, and finally, the thralls at the very bottom. But listen, what bound this entire room together wasn't just rigid law, it was a profound, almost sacred sense of loyalty between a lord and his people.
You might be wondering, well, how did we actually maintain that loyalty without a modern police force? We relied on a really clever system called wergild. Literally translated, that means man payment. See, back then, if someone was killed or injured, it could so easily spark a generational, bloody feud between families. Wergild stopped that dead in its tracks. It was a strict system of compensation, paid in livestock or currency, based entirely on the victim's specific social rank. It protected lives and honor by putting a very heavy, tangible price on any harm done. It's essentially what kept our civil society from completely tearing itself apart.
Section 2. The bitter chill of exile, sorrow, and loss.
But what actually happens when that social fabric tears? When you lose your lord, your family, and your rightful place by the fire? Well, to understand our deepest sorrow, we have to step out of that warm mead hall and right into the biting, bitter chill of winter. For an Anglo-Saxon, because our literal existence, our safety, and our whole identity relied entirely on the protection of our kin and our lord, the ultimate terror wasn't actually dying in battle. It was exile. To be lordless, wandering completely alone out on the winter ice, that was a fate far worse than death. The ruthless, crushing loneliness of having no one to protect you and no one to fight for was our absolute greatest nightmare.
Just listen to this lament from a poem we call The Wanderer. The wanderer is miserable, his country, home, companions lost. It hits hard, doesn't it? Our poetry is completely filled with this elegiac, melancholic mood. We actually have a specific name for it, the ubi sunt motif, which is a Latin phrase that just means, where are they? It captures that mournful reflection of an old warrior looking back at a ruined city or remembering his fallen friends at the feast and coming to terms with the fact that human life is fleeting and totally dependent on weird, which is our concept of fate.
Section 3. Anglo-Saxon Romance, Yearning and Passion.
Now, our hearts weren't only filled with the booming joy of the feast or the bitter sorrow of the ice. Let me show you a softer, deeply passionate side of my people that honestly surprises a lot of modern folks. Historically speaking, yes, marriages in our time were highly practical political affairs. They were often used strategically to forge alliances between warring tribes. But if you look closely at our literature, the emotional truth is vastly different. While the reality of marriage might have been political, the love songs and the elegies we composed reveal this intense yearning and a profoundly raw affection between men and women.
And it is absolutely crucial to understand that Anglo-Saxon women held incredibly high, integral positions in our society. We literally refer to them as weavers of peace. Unlike in later, more restrictive medieval eras, our women enjoyed hereditary rights to own land, sometimes even entire kingdoms. And when a woman married, she received a morgengifu, or a mourning gift. This wasn't some token gesture. It was a substantial dowry, sometimes hundreds of acres of land, which instantly became her own personal property to control, manage, or dispose of exactly as she pleased. This deep capacity for female passion and sorrow is just beautifully captured in a piece called The Wife's Lament. It's a frown lied, a woman's song, and it is an intensely emotional monologue. In the story, a wife has been forcefully separated from her husband and banished to live in a dark, miserable forest cave by his hostile kinsmen. Through her poetry, she expresses this devastating, passionate sorrow. She is just yearning across the miles for the husband she still deeply loves, despite her awful circumstances.
Section 4. Echoes in Modern English. Our Surviving Soul.
You know, my physical world of timber halls and icy moors might have vanished over 1,000 years ago, totally swept away by time and the Norman conquest. But the specific way we used language to capture emotion, that actually lives on in you today. We absolutely loved using kennings. These are basically poetic two-word metaphorical riddles. So instead of just saying the sea, we'd call it the Swan Road or the Whale Road, instantly turning it into this vast, dangerous highway. And my absolute favorite, instead of just saying the heart, we called it the breast hoard. Because to us, human emotion was a sacred, closely guarded treasure chest hidden deep within a person's chest.
Honestly, even the names you give your children today still echo with our ancient values. When you say the name Alfred, you're literally speaking Old English for wise counselor. Edgar translates to the happy spear. Blythe means joyful, and Edith signifies prosperity. Every single time you speak these common names, you are actively invoking our medieval values of strength, wisdom, prosperity, and joy. It's like a linguistic time machine.
So, traveler, as I bid you farewell and you step back out into your fast-paced modern world, I want to leave you with this one thought. Sure, we wore chainmail and drank our mead from animal horns while you're sitting there looking into glowing screens. But when you really look at our literature, at the bright fires of our loyalty, the bitter chill of our loneliness, and our desperate, raw yearning for love, have the contents of the human breast hoard ever truly changed in 1,000 years?